Hello, YouTube. For those of you who missed my intro video, my name is Phoenix. I am an elementary school PAC facilitator in Eastern Nebraska. For those of you who did watch my intro video, welcome back. Nice to see you again. Yes, I am in the same outfit. It's because I batch recorded that video and this one because my nerves were bad. So, we're not going to talk about it. So today's video, I wanted to dive into the nitty gritty of taking my praxis test, how I passed it, what I did, why I decided to take the test when I did, all the things. So just to dive in, get started, not even waste any of your time, I do have a disclaimer. Everything that I say in this video is from my own personal experience. I am not a study expert. I am not a praxis expert. And everything that I share is specific to my state of Nebraska and what I need to get my licensing and certification. So be sure to check your own state requirements in order to get your licensing because it may not be the same as mine, which honestly, can I just take a moment to say, I just don't understand how you go through 4 years of school or 3 years or 2 years or whatever it is and you pass all those classes and do all those practicums, and then you got to take another test to actually do the job. I'm like, man, then what did I go to school for? But I digress. Anyway, diving straight in. So, I chose to take my test while I was still in college. So, I am just now entering my last semester for the spring term. Um, of college, and over my winter term, like the tail end of my winter term is when I decided to take my test. So I took it on February 21st, 2025. I decided to take my test at that point because I just felt like I was ready, to be honest. I felt like I had enough of the information freshly in my mind to be able to be successful on the test. And I also did not want to wait for a long time to take it either because I didn't want to deal with it during student teaching or anything like that, especially since I am planning to do kind of like an alternative student teaching type deal. So I ended up needing it in order to do that anyways. So I just didn't want to wait till the last minute. Um, and then kind of moving on, I personally had to take the Praxis 5017 for my licensing program to be an elementary school teacher. That is essentially a elementary education curriculum instruction and assessment test. It is used to assess the readiness to teach elementary school content, develop curriculum, and assess student learning. Yes, I am reading from my notes on that because I knew I was going to forget the exact wording. Um, it's it has 120 questions, and you get 2 hours to take the test. So it's split up into different sections. So there is reading, there is math, there is science, social studies, and then a fifth section that covers like PE, art, and music. So in order to prepare myself, apart from just feeling prepared from school, is I used study.com. So when I signed up for my test, it gave me like 3 different options that I could purchase in addition to the test to study with. I have a friend who did the other 2 versions and they weren't very like excited about it. They said they didn't really like it and it wasn't very useful for test taking. So I didn't go with those and I went with the study.com. Personally, I felt like it helped me a lot with like the PE, the music, and the art, but I kind of had a lot of the like base knowledge that I needed, and so I didn't really need very much review on those. And I think that study.com works better to help people who like may have taken a class a very, very long time ago and they just need to brush up on some skills so that they can do the critical thinking. Um, but other than that, I mean, I didn't really too much think that it helped with the test. What I will say though is I loved it because it was videos and the videos were very, very easy to digest. And my learning styles are auditory and kinesthetic. So being able to listen to the videos and then like jot stuff down helped me retain more of the information. So that is one of the study things that I use, that study.com that I could get on the website for scheduling for like buying the test. And then, so that would be my first piece of advice. Like, find something that you think will be useful or whatever, whether it's YouTube videos, books that you can purchase, videos like mine where you kind of get some other suggestions, um, or anything that they offer you on the testing site, because those are going to be some of your best resources. There's also Khan Academy that has really, really good videos. None of this is sponsored, by the way. They're just things that I like. Um, and then when you do buy your test, at least for me, they sent me an email. And in the email was a link to a practice test from the actual like testing place for my test. So I felt like that honestly was the best preparation for me because I got a chance to see the wording and the verbiage and the options, for like the multiple choices for the actual test. So that is what I would say prepared me the most. Um, and then the study.com was super great for those like special areas because I didn't have a lot of background knowledge in them. So that's what I would say as far as that goes. The next thing I wanted to talk about was actually scheduling the test, right? So for us, we have the Educational Testing Service or ETS site we have to go to. You make a login, you go through and find the test that you are supposed to be taking, whether you look it up by state or you already know the code for it, or you even ask your professors and they should be able to tell you. Um, Once you find your state, it'll have you verify some information, for your test once you click like to actually start paying for it. And then it'll ask you like if you want to take it at home, if you want to take it in a testing center. It'll give you like the guidelines for both of them. I chose to take it in a testing center, so from that perspective it then asked you what location you wanted, what day, and what time. On this note, I would suggest that if you have a specific day and time that works best for you, that you choose that location, because I had one location that I was just dead set on because it was closest to me and I knew the campus and I wanted to go there. Um, but it wasn't necessarily the most efficient as far as like work and finding a place for my son to be and all the things. So it took a little bit more finagling than I would have liked, but ultimately it ended up working out. So I would suggest that even if there's a testing center that you're not familiar with, or it's kind of a little bit out of the way, if it works best for you and your schedule, make sure to go through those lists and those options, because some of the testing centers even had Saturday and Sunday options, but I didn't go for them because I just wanted to go to this one place. That was just me being hard headed. So you'll pick through that stuff, and then once you get to the very end and you are ready to pay for the test, then it will like review everything for you. Our test in Nebraska for this specific test that I took was $130. With taxes and all that, it ended up being like just shy of $134. So also make sure that you are aware and prepared that this test does cost money. Um, which is another reason why you really want to be prepared, because you don't want to have to take it like 4 and 5 and 6 times, because you have to pay for it each time. Um, and then once you submit your payment, it'll give you a receipt. The receipt will have your information, it'll have your testing center, the address of your testing center, the day that you are testing, and the time you have to be there. I recommend that you stick to your first testing date, because if you chose that date, that means that you felt like you were prepared. So tap into that energy and knock out your test. In my experience with other people who have taken the test, when you reschedule over and over and over, it makes you get more and more anxious. And then you are just a bundle of nerves when you get into the testing center. So if you set your mind on a day that you feel like you're going to be ready for your test, schedule it and don't change it. If you need to for like an extenuating circumstance, fine. But otherwise, try not to change your test day. Um, from there, like I said, there's the two options. I did not take the home version, but when you look at it on the website, it talks about how you will get a virtual proctor. Um, and that proctor's job is basically to just make sure that you are online when it says to take the test. You get your Zoom link, you click on that Zoom link and that Zoom link only. It will like make sure that you don't have any other tabs open on your computer, um, and all that just to like facilitate your test. Um, some of the tests give you breaks that you can take for like going to the restroom and things like that. It didn't specify if the at-home test did. I would imagine that it won't because that would require you leaving the computer where they can see you. So definitely check on that if you choose to take it at home. I chose to do it at the testing center where there are two scheduled breaks that you can take. The only thing about that is when you take a break, your time on your test does not stop. So I decided not to take any breaks during my test because the bathroom was so far away. So I just went to the bathroom before I even went in there to check in, because they want you to come 30 minutes early so that you can get through the check in process before you go in. And so um, you will get there, you give them your ID. They will check your ID versus the information that you submitted online to make sure that it matches. Because if it doesn't match, you cannot test. So make sure that if you're going to do a name change or anything like that, you do it after you test, or you do your test after you get all that information updated. Um, so then they'll take your ID, they will give you a clipboard. It has some like disclosure information, some information about the test, and it has um, just like some regulations for taking the test or whatever. You sign and date the bottom of that after you read it. I recommend you read everything that you have to put your signature on. That's just me. You give the clipboard back to the people at the front desk that are checking you in, and then they're going to hand you a key. The key was to a locker in the front office where we had to put everything in there. So you cannot have your keys, you cannot have your phone. If you have a smartwatch, you cannot have your smartwatch. Um, you cannot have a hoodie that has pockets on it. You have to take that off and put it in there. So if you get cold quickly, I would recommend you wear like long sleeves or a sweater that doesn't have any pockets. Um, Basically, anything else, you have to leave all that stuff inside of the locker. You lock it, you go back to the front table. They bring you around the corner, and then they do like the thing where you like spread your arms and they're like wanding you all over to make sure you don't have anything that you forgot about. Um, Once you get cleared on that, they'll have you turn out your pockets. So, like if you have pants on that have pockets in them, they will have you like pull your pockets out to make sure you don't have anything. Once you're done with that part, they will have you roll your sleeves up, probably to about here, so that they can check and make sure that you don't have anything in your sleeves. From there, we moved to the next station where we had to get our picture taken. I'm guessing that was just to verify that you are the one who's actually taking your test. And then, like, kind of back to that disclaimer where there's just some stuff that I can't say about the test. You have to read the script where you insert your name and you say the date and all that stuff, and it tells you like what you can and cannot say about the test. It also has like a little piece about like a specific thing on your test. So you have to read through that. Once you're done with that, that is when they will send you back to go get in your cubicle to take your test. It's like a it's like a good sized area. It's got the like barriers on the side so you can't talk to the person on your left and your right. And they give you noise canceling headphones, which I thought was super cool because um, there was like white noise ambiance in the background of our testing space, but the headphones had like a knob or something, so you could either hear the white noise in the background or you can flip the switch and then it would make everything completely silent, which was really nice. I like the white noise, it helped me focus, so I never turned that off. But if you're somebody who just needs complete silence to focus, that was a really good thing to have. Once you get in there and you sit down, they tell you about your headphones and then they give you scratch paper and a pencil. Um, if you are someone who likes to write or writes really big, You can always go get more paper, and they tell you that. You just get up and walk up to the front desk and ask for paper. They give it to you. You come back. I am someone who likes to write out details and break things down so that I can process them better. Again, that whole kinesthetic thing for me. Um, so I asked for more paper before my test started so that I could use all my time and not have to get up and leave and go anywhere. So the lady brought me out some extra paper, which was great. And then you basically start your test. The first couple of screens are just like some general information, how to navigate the test, how to like mark questions that you want to review, stuff like that. And then you hit start. You read your questions, you answer them. Every single question on the test is multiple choice, which for some people is good, for some people maybe not. I recommend from like my testing strategy perspective, I told myself that I was not going to change any answers until the end. So I went through, I read the questions, I tried to eliminate at least two answers, and then I chose the answer that I thought was best between the two options. There were some questions I didn't know what the answer was at all. So I just tried to eliminate things that just didn't make sense. And then I would pick from those other ones. Any one that I wasn't sure about, where I like instinctually wanted to change my answer, I would leave it, I would mark it for review, and I would move on. Because one thing I noticed with my practice test is that most of the ones where I changed my answer ended up being wrong, and what I had at first was right. So I told myself when I went in there I wasn't changing any answers. So, testing strategy tip, do not change your answers initially. Just get through your test with your first intuition. Once I got to the end of my test, there was a screen where you could look at all the questions so that it would mark like if you skipped anything or if you had something marked for review. So then I would click on each one by one with the time that I had left to go back and look at it. So some of them I went back and read it again. It seemed fine to me for my answer, so I unmarked it and went back to the review screen. Excuse me, some of them I was like, oh, I think it might be better to be this one. So then I changed it and then I went back to the review screen. So I liked that process because it gave me an opportunity to use my time to get through all the questions so that I knew everything was answered and I knew I followed my first mind. But then in that last few minutes that I had left, I loved that I was able to go back to just those questions and kind of re-go through them in my mind to figure out if I wanted to change it or not. So that is what I would recommend. You will always hear that your first mind is typically right. I would just say stick with that because typically that is the case. But if you're unsure, mark that question and keep pushing. Um, Once you get to the end of your test, there is an option to submit your scores and continue or to not submit your scores. If you submit your scores and continue, it will send your scores to whatever your state licensing education department is and to whoever else you chose when you were actually scheduling your test. Because I think you get four choices when you're scheduling. I only chose to send it to my university and then to the state like licensing place because I didn't really have anywhere else to send it to, honestly. Um, but if you have other people you need to have that test score, I mean, you can put those people in there. If you choose not to submit your scores, like if you just feel like you didn't do very well and you're kind of confident, like this kind of sucks, um, you can click to not share your scores. You will not get refunded for your test, um, but it just won't send your scores to who you chose. I mean, I recommend not doing that because even if you didn't pass your test, at least you can see kind of where you fell in there. And honestly, sometimes you might feel like you did worse than you actually did. So I wouldn't recommend that, but I do just want you all to know that that is an option. Um, and then at the very end, regardless of which one you chose, it'll give you like a review kind of thing. So it'll tell you what your preliminary score is, so what they think that you're going to score on the final, like whatever it is that they do, the final, whatever. Um, and then it'll tell you like each section, and it'll only tell you how many you got correct in that section. It doesn't show you the questions that you missed. It doesn't show you the questions you got right. It's literally just numbers. Preliminary score, reading, whatever, math, whatever, and so forth. Um, and then you cannot take anything out of the testing center. So I would recommend, like, if you want to remember your preliminary score only, I would just try to keep that in your mind. And then, when you leave, maybe write it down on a piece of paper or something, or put it in your phone so you don't forget it. Um, because once you go out, they also don't give you any papers or anything. Like, you can't get anything because they want to make sure that you're not taking anything with you from the test. Um, so I remembered my preliminary score number. I went back out. They gave me my ID. I went and grabbed all my things out of the locker, gave them the key back, and then left. And as soon as I got to my car, I pulled out, I think it was like, I think it was like an empty gum wrapper that I had and a Sharpie. And I like wrote my preliminary score on it so that I wouldn't forget it. Um, and then it takes about 2 weeks to get your official scores back. When they say 2 weeks, they mean 2 weeks. They don't mean 1 week and a day. They don't mean 1 week and 4 days. They mean 2 weeks. Because I don't, I'm not going to say that I did this or nothing, but, some people check their score every single day after their test, which is very exhausting and very mentally taxing, you know, just saying. So I would just recommend that you try to find something to fill your time while you're waiting for your test scores, because it is not going to come out a day sooner than the day that they tell you that it's going to come out, which they will say on the last screen of your test. It'll also be kind of guesstimated when you sign up for your test, but it'll tell you the day for sure on the last like screen of your test before you close everything out. And then yeah, you wait that time, and I think the morning of, I went to the gym at like 4 in the morning. I came back home, started getting ready. My husband woke up, and I just like went to the website and told him to just sign in. And I like was looking at his reaction to see if I passed or not. And he was just like being his normal silly self or whatever. And then I finally just like snatched the computer and looked at it, and I had passed, and I was super excited about it. Minimum score is a 153, and I got a 167 on the test, so that was super wonderful. It was more than what I needed. Um, and I will say that my preliminary score was pretty close, because I got a 167 as like an official score, and it said 163 on my preliminary score. So I went up a couple points, but like it's a very good indicator of what you're going to get on your test. So if you get a passing score on the preliminary one, there is a very good chance that you're going to pass your official test score. There's no way to calculate what your score is going to be, because apparently they have specific algorithms that they use, but at least the preliminary score can give you some type of idea. Um, and so, yeah, it'll pop up on your site, the same site that you signed up for your test. You log back in there, and it's going to be like a green, um, like square thing if you pass, and it'll say, congratulations, you passed, and it'll tell you your score, and then it'll take you your minimum score. I will try to link that up here somewhere if I can, of just like what my screen looked like. Um, but yeah, and it was like super exciting. It was this wonderful thing. And it also comes with a praxis summary. Now, that took a little bit longer in the day to come. That didn't come until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon for me. Um, but the actual score I could see first thing in the morning. So let me look at my notes really quick. The, let's see. Yeah, the score report, or the score summary, it'll tell you your score. It'll give you a confirmation of where your scores went. So, like, it told me that my score was successfully sent to my school and to the Nebraska Department of Education. Um, it will tell you the breakdown of like the number of questions that you got right in an area versus the average. So, like, in one section, it'll say you got like 28 out of 30 questions in this section. And then it'll say um, average score of testers, whatever number. So, it'll give you a breakdown of that. And then And then I think that's it. Yeah, and then that's all that it gives you on that long like report summary paper. So you'll have that. My final thoughts when it comes to this test. I know this might not be what you're expecting to hear, especially since this is a video about passing the test and how I passed it my first time. But I wholeheartedly want to say not everyone is going to pass this test the first time, and that is okay. Um, like, if you don't pass the first time, don't think of it as like I failed or whatever. Think about it as an opportunity, right? Because yes, you have to pay for the test again, which sucks, but you're going to be going into your next test knowing what areas you need to work on more. You're going to go into your next test with experience about what the questions look like, what they're asking from you, and all the things. Like you are going to go in there more knowledgeable about the test than anyone who is taking it for the first time. And your chances of passing because of that are going to be higher. So if you do not pass your test the first time, do not be hard on yourself. Do not think negatively of yourself. Think of it as an opportunity to prepare you for the next time so that you can do better, right? So, for anybody who is about to take this test, thinking about taking this test, or has already taken the test and needs to take it again, do not overthink it. Like, don't overthink it. Um, Again, prepare for the test in the ways that are best for you and your learning style. I did a lot of listening to videos and I did a lot of writing things down. If you are a visual learner, go ahead and watch videos. If you need to like say everything that you learned to somebody else, speak it, you know, but do it in a way that's best for you so you can retain the information and do it in a time that works best for you. If you don't want to do it while you're still in school, you don't have to. If you want to do it during the summer or if you want to do it, you know, after you're done with all your classes, that is fine. There is nothing written in stone saying when you have to take the test. So don't overthink it, don't rush yourself, and just take a breath. So, um, again, and also the other thing that I wanted to say, right, is I had somebody who was like talking to me about their test and they were super like deterred because it took them the whole time. You have 2 hours to take this test. If it takes you 2 hours to take the test, it takes you 2 hours to take the test. There is nothing wrong with that. I recommend you use every single second of that time to take that test because I did. I think I finished the test with like 12 minutes to spare, and I used that 12 minutes to go through all the questions that I marked. That time is given to you for a reason. So if you needed to answer all the questions, use it to answer all the questions. If you got 1 minute left to review, then you use that 1 minute to review. I let that test stop me. I used every single second. Some questions I needed to review twice because I still just wasn't sure. So do not think anything of yourself also if you need to use the whole time. That doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't pass your test. If anything, it means that you were using your resources appropriately. So that's just me. If you liked this video and the content in this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe, especially if you don't want to miss any more content that I'm going to be putting out over this journey that we are going to go through together. As for anything else, I will see you in the next one. Bye.